around it today. So let's come to the subject of India's priority in terms of Africa. If you see, India doesn't figure in the top 5 in terms of trading with Africa as of today. China ranks much higher. In fact, India's share in trade with Africa is barely 10% of China's trade with Africa. And in that sense, China is way ahead. But let me tell you, that should not really discourage anybody from thinking, about the future, for the simple reason that China's approach has been radically different than India's approach, and the way China aggressively has exploited resources in Africa has not gone down well with most of the people, where China has had a presence in all the countries in Africa. China, for that matter, is present in more than three-fourths of Africa across different countries, irrespective of whether they are French-speaking African countries, they are English-speaking countries, whereas India has largely concentrated on English-speaking African countries for the moment, such as Nigeria and Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa, largely because India has been connected with them even in the colonial times of the British and the Commonwealth. So basically India's priorities have been very restricted so far, and the priorities have been different. India has always taken an approach of developing Africa by way of sharing educational skills and developing infrastructure there in terms of electricity, laying electricity cables and laying telecommunication cables, and conducting e-sessions for online sessions for the student community there. So there are many students from Africa who have enrolled for distance learning with many universities in India. So this has been the kind of approach, and that is why trade has really taken a backseat in that sense, because India has had an approach of gradually developing Africa as like a younger brother or a younger sister, and not really trying to exploit it to its advantage. And this really augurs well for India, because there is a lot of goodwill of African countries with India, which was demonstrated during that 2015 Indo-African Summit, and which has already laid the foundation. Now it is time to build on those blocks and move ahead. And how we can do it is that, of course, while Africa has now the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, but that African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement has come into force only now in May 2019, and most of the chapters are still under negotiations. In fact, the first building blocks of that agreement are customs union, so which means that 90% of goods which are manufactured or produced in African countries, and which are exported by one African country to another African country, should not attract any customs duties. 90% of the goods tariff lines, 90% of the tariff lines are going to be duty free for intra-African trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is phenomenal. However, the fact of the matter is that that is not yet a reality, although people are expecting that to become a reality because of the COVID-19 situation that we have at the ground. People are expecting that to happen from 1st of January 2021, although it was expected to happen on 1st of July 2020. However, the kind of struggle that African countries have had, history and evidence that we have of the free trade agreements that various African countries have had amongst themselves. Like we have an ECOWAS, we have a SACU, and we have many such free trade agreements within the African region. of either West African countries, Central African countries, East African countries, Southern African countries, all have had various customs unions, free trade agreements, free trade areas. It is not that this is the first time that the African Continental Free Trade Area is not the first free trade agreement which is being negotiated. African countries have had it earlier also. Regional free trade blocks have been formed. But the fact is that trade liberalization has not really happened as expected. So one is the customs union, which is the starting point, and eventually the objective of the African Continental Free Trade Area is to have a common market for the entire African Union. So it is common market means just like in the EU, the European Union, people can move freely from one country to another country. You have so similarly, people from one African country to another African country can move freely for employment, for residence, and there can be just one African passport. So you don't have to have 55 different passports for 55 different countries in the African Union. That is the objective of the African Continental Free Trade Area. But to move towards that objective, the first point is to reduce tariffs, to eliminate tariffs and non-tariff barriers, and that is what is the first step. And this first step is expected to be achieved by 1st of January 2021. Having said that, so India has time to quickly open the negotiations, open the dialogue with the African Union and get into a free trade agreement with this trade bloc, newly formed trade bloc. But that is something to be negotiated with the trade bloc per se. I am also here to discuss with you today that meanwhile what India should do is India should also negotiate independently trade deals with at least 4 or 5 different African countries. Africa is a very large continent. Geographically, it is almost 3 times the size of India. So in that sense, it is not sufficient to execute a trade deal or negotiate a trade deal with just one country in the continent. You need to negotiate with 4 or 5 because there are geographical advantages and disadvantages, economic advantages and disadvantages. So till such time that India negotiates and closes the trade deal with the trade bloc per se, India should also start immediate negotiations with 4 or 5 different countries in Africa. And which can be those countries with which, if India signs trade deals today, India is going to take giant leap forward in terms of giving a boost to its trade. If you see what is India's trade today with Africa, India imports almost 35 billion US dollars, 35 billion US dollar worth of goods from Africa and exports about 25 billion US dollar worth of goods to Africa. As compared to that, the merchandise exports alone to United States is almost 25 times more. So this is the minuscule size of trade that India has with Africa, and this can only grow exponentially. Even for Africa, India is not amongst the top 10 nations with which Africa trades. So in that sense, for Africa also, India has to, for India to become its topmost trading nation, there are many things that need to be done. And as the first steps, initial steps, what India can do is India can negotiate trade deals with 5 different countries. Which could be those countries? India has, as I mentioned to you, India has largely focused its attention to trading with English speaking or countries where, either which are oil rich or which are rich with minerals or diamonds for that matter, or metals. So typically India has imported oil, crude oil from countries like Nigeria, and India has imported diamonds, rough diamonds from the southern African countries, and India has exported again petroleum products, petroleum oil products to certain countries like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. These kind of this is the kind of trade that India has had. So it has not really seen the full spectrum of trade, and that is where the potential is completely untapped as far as trading is concerned with African countries. And so India, what should be the option is, now India should be looking at countries other than the countries that it has traditionally been doing business with. Which could be those countries? So I have made some study, I have seen some kind of there could be some kind of a compatibility, there could be some kind of in fact complementarity. So in that sense I have identified some countries which I personally believe that India has a very good chance of executing trade deals. From many aspects, it is not just import or export, but actually Indian companies can think of investing in companies or in businesses in those countries, and really where even repatriation of funds back to India will not be a challenge, and eventually from those countries India can very well export goods to the rest of the world. And which because the location also of the countries that I have identified is such that it will be easier to transport goods, merchandise and offer services as well to the European Union, to the United States. So this is the kind of thought process that I have employed. So on my list of those 5 countries, the first country is Algeria. At this moment, Algeria figures about 5th or 6th in India's list of trading partners amongst African countries. And largely India imports crude from Algeria. Algeria is a country which is very rich in oil deposits. Algeria's trading partners have been largely the European Union, and again Algeria exports petroleum oil to the European Union, France per se. Algeria is a French speaking country. The reason Algeria has not really developed to the extent of its potential is because of political instability. Last year a new regime has been has come into power, and apparently it enjoys the the mandate of the majority of the population in Algeria. And the biggest advantage of doing business in Algeria, setting up operations in Algeria for Indian companies, for Indian businesses, is that Algeria is located at the very onset of the Mediterranean Sea, on the northernmost tip of Africa. So in that sense, trading with European Union by the sea route is also something, from a logistics perspective, Algeria in that sense has a very big advantage. Now coming to another factor which probably businesses have apprehended it is a deterrent, is that there is a very real threat of terrorism in Algeria, because neighboring countries like Libya have had a very disturbing trend of terrorist activities for the past 5-6 years or so, and that is something where people are not really comfortable, especially to the eastern part of the country, Algeria. But so far if you see, there are not any major events or there have not been any untoward incidents that have been reported so far in the past 5 years or so as far as Algerian economy, Algerian businesses are concerned. And in that sense, that apprehension, Algerian government also is taking steps to ensure that businesses, their safety, security and their interests are safeguarded and protected. And that kind of assurance, I believe the Algerian government would also be interested in giving to the Indian government when Indian businesses would want to invest in the country. So one is the geographical location, the second is the potential for growth in Algeria, and the kind of, and mind well, Algeria's GDP is far more than India's. So it is not that you are trading with a lesser developed country. In fact, Algeria is in the middle income, is considered to be a middle income economy, a developing economy, as compared to India, which is a lower middle income developing economy. So in that sense, I believe as far as purchasing power is concerned amongst its people, Algerian people have the purchasing power to buy not only made in India goods, but also goods or services which the country, which Indian businesses would want to produce in Algeria and supply. And of course, you can also export from Algeria. Probably the challenges are that Algerian law, which has been, the economic law has been recently amended, or a new law has come into force in 2016. That law continues with the old philosophy of having 51% investment by an Algerian national in any business. So in that sense, for example, if any Indian business wants to incorporate a company, 51% holding has to be of an Algerian national or an Algerian resident, and only 49% can be owned by, in that business can be owned by the Indian partner. So that can be something which can be a part of negotiations when India negotiates a trade deal with Algeria. But if you want, in that sense, as far as risk is concerned, I look at it as there is someone who is willing to share 51% of your business risk. So why don't you make him a partner in your operations? And of course, if the business grows, both the partners ultimately benefit. So in that sense, I don't consider that as a negative thing. But of course, you can still negotiate, and these are some things which apparently are open for negotiations as far as the Algerian government is concerned, and that is where India needs to move fast and execute a trade deal with Algeria. Second country that I have thought of is Botswana. Botswana is a landlocked country down south of Africa. The southernmost tip is South Africa, of course, but Botswana is just above South Africa. It's to the north of South Africa, and Botswana is a landlocked country. So in that sense, it doesn't have a seaport. So goods have to travel from either South Africa or neighboring Zimbabwe or Zambia. These are the countries which are Botswana's neighbors. But Botswana is considered to be one of the safest countries. It is one of the fastest growing economies, and the political stability has been by far the one of the best in the African continent. So Botswana has lots of positives. For that matter, India is already trading with Botswana. It is importing a lot of rough diamonds from Botswana. So Botswana's trade, for that matter, 90% of its exports is diamonds. The rest is 10% comprises of agriculture machinery, automobiles, parts and gold. But again, as I said, Botswana has a lot of potential. It is again sparsely populated, and there are quite a few Indians settled in Botswana. So Botswana has lot of potential, and Indian government needs to quickly execute a trade deal with Botswana. And again, Botswana's GDP per cap. I'm not talking about GDP. I'm talking about GDP per capita. I mean, my apologies if for the discussion on Algeria, if I have said that the Algeria's GDP is more than India's. It is GDP per capita that I am talking about. So the GDP per capita for Botswana is higher than GDP per capita of India. And so again, Botswana is not so it's a higher middle income country, unlike India, which is a lower middle income country, and which means the purchasing power is very much there for India made goods or goods which are produced by Indian businesses in Botswana. So India should really look at Botswana as a trading partner,